Alderman Burnett.
Here.
Alderman Meyer.
Here.
Alderman.
Here.
Alderman White.
Here.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams here. Okay, tonight we need to look at the agenda amendments.
Move to approve.
Okay. All in favor of approval, please say yes.
Yes.
Any noes? Let the record show the June 8th, 2023 has been approved as posted with no amendments. Approval of minutes, and we do have,
I do have one correction, or a note, actually. So ordinance 2306 that was originally in our last meeting, that number has been used already, so it'll be 2307 for the budget ordinance. And so I've made a note in the minutes that the FY24 budget ordinance number is changed to 2307 for second reading. All information is the same, so that can be tracked in the future.
Move for the approval of the amended minutes.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any noes? Okay. The amended minutes have been approved as recognized. Okay. Mayor's report.
Shop. Since it's improperly captioned, and since a board member has denied that it's for ball fields, I feel that you should table this until your town attorney comes back. And I don't know what you may be up against the wire on your budget deadline, but the law has changed, and you did not adapt to the change in the law. So I respectfully caution you that if you vote on this tonight, you could be violating the Open Meetings Act, and you may already have. Any other questions? Oh, and
Curious
I have a
what
copy
road
for the
part-
law director and for the Farragut Press.
What do you consider Watt Road? Consider it ball fields or a park?
Well, I sent you an email with an aerial photograph. Did
consider?
you not get that?
I'm sure I did, but what do you consider it?
Only the mayor responded to that email.
That's not the point, Mr. Mitchell. He asked you a question.
I don't understand the question. I know where Watt Road
Park
is.
at
I know
Watt
where it
Road,
begins. I know where it
It's got
ends.
ball fields all over it. I'm just curious if you classify that as a ball fields.
This is new.
or if it's
This is
park.
new construction. Prosperity Crossing.
Sorry. Okay.
There's a link to it I sent in the email to
I'm
you.
so familiar with Prosperity Crossing. Very. It's been around a long time. It's not new. It's not even remotely new.
They've changed their
I know.
plan.
Okay. I tried asking a question.
Well, I'm sorry. I gave you.
I'll rephrase the question for you. He's asking you about the ball field that's located on Watt Road. It's called Bob Leonard Park.
No, I'm
Are you
speaking-
familiar with that?
Oh, yes, I am.
Okay.
I've lived here a year since the town was formed. Yes.
Okay. He asked you would you consider that a park?
Sports complex is not a park. And Mayor Williams, I'm not a chancellor. My opinion is not binding.
Now, he asked you a question, Mr. Mitchell, do you think that location on Watt Road, what we call Bob Leonard Park,
It's
do you
a ball-
think that's a park?
It's a ball field.
Okay, it's got ball fields on it, yeah. But do you consider that a park? Is that what the sign says it is?
I don't know what the sign says it
Okay.
is. Any other questions?
Yeah, one thing. I got one for you, one more. When does this particular law go into effect?
It already has, April 25th. I brought a packet for the law director. I'll be happy to leave it with you.
Leave it
Or,
with it.
well, Mr. Smoke.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I have a question for us, Mr. Mayor. Are we going to,
Get a motion first? before you
Yeah,
ask
well-
a question.
We
Oh,
had,
did we do a
You'll
motion?
have-
we,
you have
well,
one.
we're not to that yet, okay.
Okay, we did have a motion.
We had to make sure that was only, we weren't aware that somebody was going to speak, but now we are. He's had a chance to speak. So at this point, then we'll move on.
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna do David White first because he has a question.
Yeah. Wait till Mr. Mitchell sits down, please.
Thanks.
Okay, now at this point, I'll ask for a motion on this particular
Make a
ordinance.
motion? We've got a motion and a second already.
Okay? Then we'll let the first discussion member be Alderman White.
Well, I am a little bit concerned because in my opinion, a sports complex is not a park. And I remember specifically saying if we're going to have a sports complex, we need to have a concession stand, we need to have bleachers, we need to have restrooms so people can come from all over the country, have tournaments here and stay on the property. And that was for sales tax revenue. So I'm concerned if this law truly is what it sounds to be, if that ties our hands, do we ever use that money, that we have to build a park and that's all we can build. We can't use it for anything else. That concerns me. And I really would like to have a legal opinion on it before I vote, because I don't understand the law and I don't understand what it all means. Sorry, I just don't.
Okay. Okay. Is that's all you got? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Meyer?
Oh, yeah, so my understanding was when we pass a budget, we're doing just that. We are passing a plan on how to spend money. And that's just a plan. We actually fund the different activities in the budget throughout the year by having votes on ordinances and contracts and that kind of stuff. So we could put, a parkland purchase here. That doesn't mean we're tied to it because this is just the budget. If we go through and we see that the contract or the ordinance or whatever comes through and it is ballparks and we decide, hey, yeah, we don't really want ballparks for whatever reason, we can vote against it at that time. Is that correct, David?
Yes, sir.
So we're not necessarily bound by law that whatever this budget says we absolutely have to spend the money on. I mean, we're planning on spending it that way, but there's always unforeseen circumstances. I'd like to have David answer my question.
Yeah, I'd be happy to if you're Mayor, you're okay with that?
Yeah.
So the issue we're very well aware of this law. This is new. We abide by this law already with the way we caption things and the way we put things out in our public notices. So in the budget process, when you're approving the budget, you approve allocations of dollars for various things, just like Alderman Meyer said. So the fact that for this one particular item that we're talking about is money for parkland purchase. Parkland purchase could be for any kind of parkland, basically, and it could be for up to that amount of money. You're not deciding how the park's going to look, how it's going to feel, what it's going to be, or anything else a part of it, other than the purchase of the land that would be used for a future park of some kind. Now, you can have disagreements about what goes into a park, but certainly those are for a later date. You also are not necessarily purchasing the park tonight. That would have to come up to a future vote for the board to then consider and all the elements of that at that time. So this is just to allocate the dollars, and I feel confident that we have done everything we need to do to make sure that you're okay in approving the budget.
And then the other comment is, just for the record, I'm not sure I want baseball fields on here. If I didn't make that clear during the workshop, I'll make it clear now. I'm not convinced that's the best use of the land, but I am convinced that we need to purchase the land. I'm not convinced yet of what the purpose of it should be, except for park usage of some kind. Probably not ball fields.
Vice Mayor?
Yes. First off, Prosperity Crossing has changed their concept plan. And if you go to prosperitycrossing.com, you will see that he has changed it to include apartments at the top. That's what they're currently building. A bunch of offices, retail, a grocery store, a wholesale club, a hotel convention facility, a bunch of other retail, an outdoor outfitter, sporting goods. He got pretty specific there. One building for a sports complex, medical, a department store, retail. So he's no longer planning to do a sports park.
Point of order, ma'am.
No,
Whoa,
no.
no. You're not recognized right now. She's
I'm-
speaking,
I'm
okay?
speaking. Second off, so I'm just making that clear that Prosperity Crossing is a movement. I don't know what's going on there. The fact of the matter is, when we talked about this, it was presented that a possibility could be ball fields in this land. Now, Alderman Meyer and I both advocated that we think it should be a dark park. At the end of that discussion, we all realized that it doesn't matter what any one of us think, because by the time this comes up for this community to decide on, it's going to be, at least to me, at least a decade. We're out CIP to 6 years, and there is no money in the budget to do any kind of park land, any kind of park development on this new. This is basically, we are investing in this land for a future opportunity. Quite frankly, I look at it as there's an opportunity. We have this, I don't know if you guys have been on this bike walking trail in McPhee Park. It is amazing. It's beautiful. You didn't have to take many trees down. It wasn't very expensive to build. When Ms. Seal decides to sell her property and they develop that between McPhee and the manor at McPhee, we will have an area that we could extend that trail down. We could use the entire treed area and build an impressive trail system through that and not take down any trees. That is an opportunity. That is an opportunity that would not be for us if we do not purchase this land. That would be an opportunity that we could do. We wouldn't have to put in any infrastructure. We wouldn't have to put any entrance there. We would just be able to connect in from our existing trailhead over by the splash pad. This is an idea right now. All it is a purchase of land. It says park land purchase. There is no designated use for this. Like I said, there is no project, there is no plan. There is a proposal that you could potentially use ball fields there. Somebody said they wanted to see an aquatic center. We won't know this until this community can get together. In the future, we will do a park survey like we've done in the past. We're going to have to update our master plan, every 5 years? We may begin a survey in the next park update in 5 years to say, hey, we've got this land. What are your thoughts on it? The one thing that we get the most public input on is our master plan and our park planning. So I have no doubt that this community will come up with really great ideas for what to do with that land that preserves a whole ton of those trees, because I think most of us are on the same page. We don't want to see those trees disappear. What I do know from our workshops, from the 2019 workshop we did on McPhee Road, the residents there did not want to see any more houses built. They were frustrated by that. We all know, sitting on this board, that people have private property rights. And in the 75 years since this area started turning over from agricultural to low-density residential, not once has a property that's been asked to rezone from agricultural to low-density residential has it been rejected. That property is either going to be reserved for park space or it's going to be houses. If you look on KGIS, you will see that there is a connector road from the current manor at McPhee that abuts right into this property that we're considering buying. I cannot understand how this is such a controversy. 119 homes or wooded property for the next at least decade, and then a park after that. This is all we're doing is buying parkland. It is very clear here, all it says is parkland purchase. There is no designated use here, and it's not going to be even decided by this board.
Mr. Mayor, I spoke with the developer.
Mr. Mitchell, you are not in order. You had your 5 minutes to speak.
I did not know she was going to make a statement.
That don't make any difference. That don't make any difference.
12 turf ball fields there. That statement was inaccurate.
You can stop now.
Well, fine.
Okay, Mr. Burnett. Alderman Burnett, you're up next.
Sure. As some have said, I mean, I am for this for this land purchase. It's useless for us to talk about what it could or could not be, because it's not going to be us that decides that, so that seems futile right now. But I know that from a resident to park ratio that's based on national averages, we are short park space, and in the next 5 or 10 years, we will be very short park space. So I think it's a very wise choice. I have not met anyone that would rather have an extra 200 homes in that area as opposed to a park. Not a single person. And so I think the idea that we're in competition with something that's a hope of another developer is just completely false. We're not in competition with anybody because we don't even know what we're competing for. So that doesn't even make sense because we don't know what it's going to be. But we do know for the future of Farragut, or it's at least my belief that it's a very smart purchase, and it's one of the last opportunities to purchase land really forever. So I'm very supportive of it. So that's pretty simple. Along with the McPhee fence that was brought up, I would love for the board to be able to get some pictures of what we're thinking for the fence. The road frontage there that fence would cover is pretty massive, and
Needs to be attractive.
it needs to be attractive. It needs to fit the environment that it's in. Probably a little less rural than it was 5 years ago with some of the farms being gone, but it still has a great kind of rural feel. And so would love for that fence to match and not be, kind of icy cold aluminum. Me and David talked about earlier. So would just love to see some ideas, some renderings of which direction we're headed if we could provide any feedback.
So no barbed wire fence is what you're asking for?
Billy, that may teach some people a lesson.
Ron and I were talking about fencing today, so we can definitely send you something and let the board take a look at what we're thinking about. But it will be attractive, for sure.
Okay, well, I've traveled all that property personally. It's a very nice piece of property. It's very rugged in places. It's got some very nice woods, great tree stand all throughout it. Like the vice mayor said, if whether it be short-term or long-term, if we have a walking trail there that went through the woods similar to what we've got right now in the park, the 1.5-mile trail we've got, that would be, if that's the way it stayed, that would be wonderful. The residents in this area, we had a corridor study like what Vice Mayor was talking about. They told us what they would like to see. And I think everybody agreed with that. They did not want a bunch of apartments there. They did not want a glut of housing. Yes, he does have property rights. He can sell it to whoever he wants to, and if it's within the land use and the zoning, it can be built. The choice of whether it could be a park or it could be just park land to be developed by, I'll be long gone before it's ever done. It'll, like has been said, it'll be future boards that decide this, what it'll be. But either that or housing, I think I would always and will always vote for parkland versus housing. So I don't know about, a law that is specific on something, but I do not think we're in violation of any sorts. I mean, if you read it, if you read the budget, you see what it says. So at that point, unless one of the other aldermen has more to say.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, go right ahead.
I want to make it clear, and I think everybody knows, I've always been for the purchase of this property from day one. I really want us to get the property. I really prefer a sports park on it, where some people are reading, but that's my choice. That's what I'd like to see. Lady Mayor's right in one respect. We do not have a plan. We have not had a plan. We've not talked about it or voted on it. We've made our wishes known, and I've made mine known. But one thing is I'm, as y'all know, and you know by now, I'm very concerned with the law, wherever it is, whether it be here, whether it be in the state. And if this is all right to say parkland instead of park and/or sports complex, because one thing, in my opinion, is a fact. A sports complex is not a park. Never has been. I've played a lot of sports, and I've never played football in a park. I've always played on a football field in a sports complex. So I don't agree that a parkland is the same as a sports park. That's what concerns me about the identification. May not be a problem, I don't know the law. I'm just going by what the man said. I've never read the law. But I wish the attorney was here to have his opinion. I trust David's opinion if he's researched it and he thinks we're fine. That's the only problem I have is the way it's identified. And I just wouldn't want to see it hold up this board, tie our hands, or tie a board up in the future. If they wanted to build a sports complex, but turned out they couldn't because the agenda item says it's parkland. That's my only concern. I don't want to tie up anybody's hands. I want it to be that we can make that decision, or some other board can make that decision when it comes time. But they don't have to do what this says and make it some kind of park. That's my only issue with it.
Okay,
Yes, I'm done.
Scott.
I pass.
Pass.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of make a statement, just because it could help in the future, maybe or maybe not. But I do. My desire is that it is. I don't want to too much mince with the words, but a park. I mean, we look at Mayor Bob Leonard. That is a park, and it's got 5 fields. It's got 3 turf fields and volleyball, and people come from all over to have big tournaments there. So, in my opinion, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, that is more of our regional draw, and it's on the outside of town by the interstate. This is in a more residential area that we don't want hundreds and hundreds of cars flying up and down every single day. That's kind of the advantage of that over one of the advantages of having it over housing. But my hope in the property, since it's probably not going to be me, is a park. It can have ball fields. I'm not saying no ball fields, but is a park that serves the needs of the community. And I think those needs will be some types of fields, whatever that is in the future. But that's my hopes in the land.
And I'll just add on to that, if we're ever going to have a sports complex, it really does belong, it's like a converting of Watt Road, Mayor Bob Leonard, to more of a sports complex. If you're ever going to have a sports complex, that's probably where it belongs, because if you're looking for the revenue generator of it, that's where the retail is, that's where the hotels are just one exit down. And you could convert some of the park uses to this area if this future town is inclined to do that. But I don't see this being where we want to drive a lot of regional travel for that very reason. It's a residential road, it's a residential portion of our community, and I don't think that the residents on McPhee Road would really appreciate that. So, that's a discussion for then, but I agree that this is an opportunity to expand McPhee Park, which is a park. And so I'm just adding on to yours.
Okay, well, we started out for this to be the second reading of a budget, and we need to get back to that.
Yeah.
I think everybody would agree that we do need to get back to that. So, assuming that our discussion is completed, then I'll ask the town recorder for a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Burnett,
Yes.
Alderman Meyer,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Povlin.
Yes.
Alderman White,
With reservations, yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show that the ordinance 23-07 has been approved by roll call vote on the second reading. Okay, next will be ordinance 23-08, an ordinance to amend the Farragut Municipal Code, Chapter 2, Article 6, Finance, Section 2-229, authorization of purchases by deleting its in entirety and substituting new language for purchasing authorization.
Yes, sir. This is the same information that we had at our workshop at the last board meeting. And the town's charter, which provides for formal sealed bids, shall be obtained for all expenditures of the amount set for up to $10,000. That's our current ordinance. And the governor recently signed a new law which modified a different section of the law. This change provides that regardless of any specific state law, towns and cities may increase their competitive sealed bid threshold up to $25,000, with 3 written quotes being required for an amount up to 40% of the threshold given. And so staff believes it's the best interest of the town to increase this to the $25,000. And the motion is to approve ordinance 2308 on first reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Any resident?
No, sir.
None? Okay. And we'll start off with Vice Mayor on the,
I have nothing.
nothing. Alderman Burnett,
No questions.
Alderman White,
No question.
Alderman Meyer. I have none as well. This is a good change. It will streamline our process. With discussion closed, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pavlin.
Yes.
Alderman White.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show the amendment to this ordinance has been approved on the first reading by roll call vote. Okay, next will be business items. It looks like we have 7 of those items to review and consider for approval. And Darrell, you're going to be a busy man. Approval of professional services agreement with Cannon & Cannon Incorporated for engineering services for design of pedestrian crossings at Grigsby Chapel Road and McPhee Road.
In your packets is a contract with Cannon & Cannon Incorporated for design of 2 mid-block pedestrian crossings in the town. The first one, Allison, if you could move that to the first location we're looking at is on Grigsby Chapel Road. It's about 175 feet east of Weatherly Hills Boulevard and Woodchase Drive. In that area, Grigsby Chapel is 3 lanes wide, so we want to put another island out there. It'd be a pedestrian safety island with flashing beacons, be very much like the one on the eastern end of Grigsby Chapel Road. The second location we're looking at is just a little north of the northern entrance to McPhee Park on McPhee Road. You can see it there. It's kind of hard to tell in this light, but I've drawn in the intent. It's only 2 lanes wide, so we can't put an island there, but we will have the flashing beacons.
Okay, Darrell, how's that going to be mounted? Can you tell us that?
I'm not sure. We might put it on a mast arm.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's part of design, right?
Correct.
I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Any resident comments on?
We do. We have 2 speakers tonight. Our first one is Clark Brecky.
Okay. This is where we need a portable mic.
Yes.
Can you move that up so he can
I
get to the
can.
podium? Thank you.
Tell you what. Can you get across that? Yep. All right, sir. There you go. Mr. Brown, how are you?
First of all, I want to thank very much the engineering department for helping us in obtaining this crosswalk proposal.
Can you give us your name and address?
Oh, I'm
first?
sorry, yes. It's Clark Brecky at 708 Price Farm Boulevard.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot that. I have a question that I raised tonight, and then I got an answer, and I have a follow-up question for it. That is on the Cannon & Cannon proposal. It states that this effort, that is, of the crosswalks, will involve the construction of pedestrian crossing flashers at both locations noted above and sidewalk with a new pedestrian crossing island at the Grigsby Chapel one. And we just heard that the issue with McPhee is it's too narrow to have an island. But then as you go down the list of things that the Cannon will do, item 3 says they will conduct necessary, number 4, prepare design plans for sidewalk islands, plural, and curb ramps as indicated at both locations, Grigsby Chapel and McPhee. And there seems to be a conflict, or at least confusion on my part. I can guess what there'll be no island at McPhee, but it says that they're going to do that. When I asked the question this evening, I was told that will be part of their report, was whether there's an island there or not, which also tends to confuse me. And I do want to just put in a plea then, if it is up for discussion, I would like to see if there's some way that we can get an island, because until the speed on McPhee coming off either hill, north and south of that crosswalk, is better controlled than having people doing close to 60 miles an hour, I don't think I can get across. And so there may still be a danger even without an island. And I think that was all I wanted to ask. Oh, the other question was, how, if Cannon are supposed to make a recommendation relative to whether there's an island or not, how will they make their determination or seek input from the public on what the public would like to see? Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay.
Let me turn that around for you, sir.
No, I get it. Just be patient.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think I can answer the question. If I understood correctly, it was a question about when would there be public input about a design. Anything that we do like this would have to go in front of the Planning Commission before we move forward to construction. I think that would be probably the proper time. So,
I think the other question was, how do you do a mid-block crossing here with an island?
with an island, we
Right.
would have to split the 2 lanes. And I would probably opt to move it a little farther north to get away from that taper
Yeah,
for the southbound movement.
Yeah, I believe so.
and that would be a road project, which would be far more extensive than what we're budgeting for.
Far more expensive, yeah.
Yeah. But would serve a purpose, both in providing a mid-block crosswalk and that diverting out and then coming back in is a traffic calming feature,
Correct.
Yeah.
so.
Are we talking about this or going on to the next one?
We have another speaker.
Okay.
Oh,
Let's
you're
get
ready.
to speakers. and
Our
then-
second speaker is George Ellis.
George Ellis, it's 12650 Brass Lantern Lane. Before I get started on this, I want to say thank you to Parks and Recs. We had a little issue at McPhee Park, and the Ron Rapid Response Remedial Team was right out there. Good job, Ron. Thank you. We appreciate it. Regarding McPhee Road, the board is now aware that a concerned group of residents from one end of McPhee to the other have come together, I hope, via a petition format to see what can be done so McPhee Road is made safer. This is really only the second time I've ever got involved with a petition. The first one was history class in 1215 when John the King had to do Magna Carta, so I'm kind of to relate these two things. But instead of just gathering names and signatures, with people getting agitated just by mentioning the road's name, it actually has become a really enlightening experience. Of course, residents get emotional when it comes to mentioning the road's unsafe situation, and you as a board have all heard residents that want something done. If all the residents along McPhee did sign this petition, that would be close to 1,200 people. This does not even include the Grove, the new subdivision, with their 200 plus houses. It's a large block of people that will bring even more drivers and pedestrians. However, in going down from door to door, explaining what's trying to be done whilst I've been getting people to sign up, what I've experienced is that the petition unexpectedly is morphed into triggering questions, and it's quickly becoming an educational opportunity. Residents I've talked with, right off the bat, of course, they want to know, well, what do you want me to sign? But 95% never knew the history of McPhee Road. They never knew that the original design was slanted more towards the vehicle's driver by making any accident as safe as possible. Yeah, we learned this back in engineering school years ago, but the road was engineered with a forgiving design to eliminate off-road excursions and right-of-way physical hazards that would make any impact to a driver and a vehicle dangerous. Let's fast forward to 2023. Things have changed on McPhee. People are out walking, they're riding bikes, walking their dogs, and they're also trying to cross this road. These people, seen everywhere now, have become potential collateral safety issues that were not commonly present with directing the original McPhee road designs. Pedestrians on McPhee simply were not as numerous back in the day as they are now. So once this is all explained, residents seem to become aware and much more receptive. They even understanding the challenges to the town to almost reverse engineer the road. Their collective mindset towards the elusive easy fix, why aren't they bringing people out here? Why don't we have this? Those kinds of thoughts soon changed. But there is no easy fix if we're being honest about it. Residents realized that asking for speed bumps, rumble strips are options, but would probably add more noise and just make drivers run more late and more frustrated. One of the points that we emphasize while we walk around is that the board, planners, engineering are all on board, and they want a fix just as much as any resident on McPhee does. At this point, we'd like to thank Clark Becky, a true Viking, if Becky is Norwegian, as I think it is, from Price Farms for bringing our subdivision into the loop. He has worked hard. I'd like to thank others working behind the scenes in adjacent subdivisions. We've got McPhee Manor, Bridgemore, as well as residents on both ends of the road for stepping up to the plate and explaining to their own neighbors what can be achieved if we all work together. It takes 10 times longer if we don't. People like Clark would like to cross McPhee Road to get to the park in safety. And this brings up a concern with this particular crosswalk, and I'll bring this up in a second. But it feels dangerous to him, and crossing McPhee can be quite the task for many. Now, a driver going at 50 miles an hour, that's not an uncommon speed on McPhee. And he's not paying attention, or she's not paying attention, maybe texting, while a pedestrian crossing the road ahead of them is going to take about 10 to 12 seconds to walk across the road. But that driver will be in a vehicle that will travel 750 feet in 10 seconds. That's 2.5 football fields in length before they even get there. Lastly, it's our hope that McPhee residents will get their opportunity to input ideas and points of view while working alongside the town to see their plans and ideas also. If we work methodically, we can all get to an endpoint that will make McPhee Road a much safer place for all. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, George. Who's up next?
That's all.
That's all? Okay.
I forget where I was.
Well, you got some good notes, I assume?
Okay. Those are the two locations we were looking at, Grigsby Chapel Road and McPhee Road. What's before you tonight is a contract for development of plans to install those. It'd be very much like what we did on Watt Road a couple of years ago. Before you is this agreement from Cannon and Cannon with a lump sum fee of $22,500. Staff recommends approval.
Move to approve. I thought we already made sure.
You already have one?
Oh, thought so. All right. Sorry.
Okay, we do have a motion
We have a motion
and
and
a
a
second.
second.
Okay. Discussion, I guess because you live out there, Alderman Burnett, I'm going to ask you to start.
Sure. So in general, in favor of both of the projects, I mean, the question I have, I don't even have a specific question, but I'd just say I'm not convinced this is the right spot for it. You know, I think this stretch of road from the top of the hill to the roundabout on the south side is probably the place where you have the fastest driving, because you can see from one end to the other. It's like a half mile and you can see from here to there and you can just let it rip. So there's one part of me that says this is, you know, where does that need to be in terms of that section? And then I've also been thinking, I can't remember the lady's name who talks to us about parks, but you always put the crossing where people are already crossing.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
try and
Correct.
readjust people's, and so I
Habits, yeah.
right. So I think that would align more closely to the park entrance. I know you don't want to put that at an entrance necessarily, because you already have cars pulling in a decel lane. The only advantage I see you have is it's so much wider there.
Right.
And so you would have the possibility, you might have the possibility of something in the mid-block and moving the lanes a little bit. I don't know.
I would still think we would need to split it,
Yeah, I
because
think-
that's a decel lane for the southbound,
Yeah.
southbound movement. As far as this location, we have observed quite a few people crossing in that area. Normally, people that are going to be crossing here are coming from the north. If they're coming from the south, they're going to enter the park on the northern side where there's already a crosswalk there at the roundabout. This isn't that far from the roundabout, but what we've observed is people that are walking south, they're going to enter the park at the first entrance they come to.
Lower
So-
entrance, yeah.
And it really is probably best, because there is good sight distance there, to have it in that stretch. So that's why we selected it.
And so you don't see any way of having anything other than striping and lights on the side, nothing in the middle. Clearly, there's not.
Well, unless we wanted to expand the project and put an island there like the one that we're proposing on Grigsby Chapel.
Of course, that's already existing, but
Yeah, it's got
Yeah.
a turn lane.
Yeah,
Right?
you're,
I mean, how would you do that?
Well, you would have to taper in and back out, or out and back in, and it'd be several hundred feet of replacement of curb and gutter, sidewalk, greenway. Would be a fairly expensive
Yeah.
way to do it.
I'm not necessarily advocating for that right now. All I'm telling you is the speed on this road compared to this, I think, is way, way higher.
Right.
And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
wide open, you can see it, and so people feel comfortable. 50's nothing. 50's, and so then when you line those people in the street, that's my only concern, is it's just right in this area where people
Right.
fly.
But at least if they're alerted with the flashing beacons overhead, they'll have plenty of time to slow down Well, they should.
Yeah,
And
especially
they'll
if
only go when the button's pushed. The lights,
Pardon me?
lights flash.
the lights
yeah.
only flash when the button's pushed.
Correct.
I think I have any other questions, Mayor?
Okay. Alderman White?
No comments.
Okay. Alderman Meyer?
Pass.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, I want to first address this. I agree with you that this is the problem with this road that, and I've been talking with George about this and Mr. Brecky about this, is that, you know, it was designed years ago when we were still talking about, we had the complete streets, but it was more, okay, we've got the bikes, we've got the pedestrians, we have the road, and there wasn't much consideration of pedestrian safety and pedestrian feel. It was more about making sure all of those things, because that was early on. And it kind of took the old highway design of roads and just put it down into residential areas. And now we're starting to see more the multimodal design coming out of TDOT and context-sensitive solutions. And one of the issues with McPhee Road is, like you said, it's wide open. You come into, my neighborhood has a boulevard, and it's basically 2 lanes wide, going one way. But there's tree cover on both sides. So you feel comfortable going 25 because it just is instantly calming. We don't have that aspect here. We have just wide open vista, and that can tend to make you feel that you can drive faster, and that's part of the problem. McPhee Road is, and as I've been talking with George, is going to be a lot of different elements that we might want to build back into the road over time. This is an example. We might want to do this because we have it and we're ready to do it, but we might want to look to the future about where can we conveniently relocate this, because we already have the equipment, conveniently locate this where it would be a capital project, where you can build in an island so that there's that middle place, because someone like Mr. Breck is going to have a hard time getting across and feel comfortable trying to get across when he knows that the speed of the road is the way it is. I would like to get this done just because it's something better than nothing. But there's a long way to go, I think, on McPhee Road to address it for the residents who live there. And I think this is a bigger conversation than what we're handling with this tonight. That includes building a citizen representative traffic team, an elected official and staff, and maybe working with Ellen Zaviska from the TPO. She's the pedestrian expert. She can go look at, she did the analysis for our Kingston Pike Campbell Station intersection to help us understand the ways we could make that more safe for pedestrians. But I think we really do need to look at McPhee Road. We can't keep thinking that it's an enforcement issue. It may very well be, but we don't have the enforcement, and we know we don't have the enforcement. So I'm supportive of this, but I don't think this is the end of the road for what we need to be doing to address McPhee Road.
Okay. I guess really when you start thinking about a group of people getting together and talking about this, and if you leave law enforcement out, I think that's a big mistake. I mean, we have speeding all over our town. McPhee is one of the roads, Ostage. I can go on and on. It's common everywhere. But and we've asked for more enforcement, and we've been told that it's not available. So that they've only got so many people that can be put out. With that said, we do have to look at the future, and I look at that stretch right there and I see what looks to be, I don't know what that is right there. Is that a walking path or something that's,
This is the.
no, not there, right there.
It looks like a driveway.
That That is an
what?
abandoned driveway that was left in place for access to the detention basin for Brass Lantern.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
Brass Lantern.
I think I would get away from that if I could, because as Vice Mayor says, something right now would be better than nothing, as far as the flashing lights. I don't know that it would help Clark much, because he's not going to be able to go to the middle and then go across like he would at one of the others. He'd have to pick a time when he sees nothing in both directions. But I think the future would be to do something there with a, you could call it a, whatever you want to call it. It wouldn't be a roundabout, but it would be something to where somebody would have to slow down and go around it. Now, it would be twofold. It would definitely give you a crossing with a middle area, and it would also, it would definitely slow traffic down. And it would be, with the flashing lights, it's going to make people more aware. If they're not flashing, they'll keep up their 65-mile-an-hour speed that they typically have down through there. But if it's flashing, hopefully they will look to see that, it's there for a reason. And if they travel it very often, then they'll know that. I don't point fingers at the people that live in this area as far as the ones that are breaking the law. I know where it's coming from. It comes from under the tunnel, and they're headed to Kingston Pike. And so the people that live here, they recognize the area, and they're not the ones to do this. But going forward, if we could get something to begin with like what was said, a capital project that would look at something a little bit better, and to make sure that whatever Cannon comes up with a flashing light, that we would not obsolete it whenever we do something better, that it could be integrated into the system. I think that would be a long-term approach to this area right here. It is probably one of the worst areas. I've watched as far as people crossing, and I've not really seen a rhyme or reason to where they cross. You see it all over the place. I don't see a specific area where you see people crossing. And I look every time I'm out that way. Now Alderman Burnett may see more because he's out there a lot more than I am, but it's an area that would be good to do what we've discussed as far as some sort of a football-shaped thing that's in the middle of the road that would have the crossing in it.
I would agree with what Darrell said. Anything south goes to the roundabout to cross. But anything here, that's why I say there's no pattern. So I just look, and if there's nothing both ways, I'm crossing. I don't care if it's the top of the hill, the bottom, the middle. You don't go somewhere and just wait. You wait until that clearing's there, and then they're gone across the road there. So,
Mayor, I do
agree.
have one more speaker that signed up. If you want him to speak?
Yeah,
It's
why not?
Craig Smith.
Yeah, we're here to discuss, so.
Craig Smith, 12651 Brass Lantern Lane. I'd love to have that image back up. I won't even talk for a minute. I just wanted to point out that, the sidewalk on the west side of the road, I won't even walk down that anymore with my back to the traffic because, I've heard cars hitting the curb and jumping up onto the sidewalk. It's just too close. So I'll actually cross over to the other side just to get down to the park and then cross again. So I'm doing two crossings because that sidewalk is just not safe anymore.
You like facing traffic?
I do.
So you
and so you go to the other side where the greenway is wider and you can actually hedge away from the curb.
Okay.
Point being to this is that I'm sure this is not allowed, but I would, if it was me doing the engineering, I'm a retired engineer, I would sacrifice that sidewalk on the west side and recover that land and use it. We've got the greenway on the other side, so people can go over there, and they do already. That sidewalk, it's almost a wasted asset or a stranded asset, and it's just, I'm actually got to where I walk on the hillside the grass hillside below Brass Lantern entrance rather than on the sidewalk. Just pointing it out, that sidewalk is almost just a waste from a safety standpoint, except at 5:30 in the morning when I'm often out there anyhow. But I don't know how you could engineer that, but if you could recover the sidewalk, then you'd have more land to do an island. That's my point. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, any more discussion from the board members? If not, I'll ask that if in favor, please vote by saying yes.
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 Let the record show that the agreement has been approved. Next will be approval of contract 2024-01 on-call road maintenance.
I want to point out that the next 4 items on the agenda are all maintenance contracts. Now, each year, we put out a request for proposals from specialty contractors to provide bids for maintenance of our roadways, pavement marking, guardrail, and traffic signals.
Move, we approve them all.
Thank you. This first item is our annual on-call road maintenance contract. We received 1 bid on May 22nd from PRI, that's Pavement Restorations Incorporated. I put a tabulation in your packet showing their bids for the line items for this year versus this coming year, and it shows that they're going unchanged for the new year. PRI has done a lot of work for us in the past. Staff recommends award of the contract to Pavement Restorations Incorporated.
Move to approve.
Okay. Rest and comments?
Yes, sir.
Discussion, Alderman White,
No, sir.
Alderman Meyer,
Pass.
Alderman Burnett,
No questions.
Vice Mayor.
No questions.
I have none as well. Discussion completed. I'll ask all in favor vote by saying yes.
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 And let the record show the contract has been approved. Next will be approval of contract 2024-02 on-call pavement markings.
We received 2 bids for this contract, one from Volunteer Highway Supply and one from Highway Markings Incorporated. Both of the bids were competitive, but staff recommends award the contract to Volunteer Highway Supply because of their responsiveness in the past.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. The rest of comments?
No, sir.
None. Okay. Vice Mayor,
Nothing.
Alderman Burnett,
No questions.
Alderman White,
No, sir.
Alderman Meyer.
Pass.
I have none as well. With discussion complete, I'll ask if in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Let the record show that the contract has been approved as requested. Okay, next will be approval of contract 2024-03 on-call guardrail maintenance.
We received 2 bids on May 22nd for the guardrail contract, one from Roadway Solutions LLC, the other from Highway Markings Incorporated. Staff is recommending award to Roadway Solutions LLC because of their responsiveness in the past.
Second.
Okay, resident comments?
Sir.
None again. Discussion, Alderman White,
No, sir.
Alderman Meyer,
Pass.
Vice Mayor,
No.
Alderman Burnett. I
No
have none as
questions.
well. Discussion complete. I'll ask it if in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Let the record show the contract has been approved as requested. One more. Approval of contract 2024-04 on-call traffic signal maintenance.
We received 3 bids on May 23rd for the signal maintenance contract, one from Progression Electric LLC, Stansel Electric Company, and Davis H. Elliott Company.
Who was the third one?
Davis H. Elliott Company.
Okay.
In this case, comparing the bid prices, I don't feel like Progression Electric was necessarily the lowest. They are on some items. But more than anything, we need to bear in mind the ATMS project is being completed by Progression Electric. Anytime we can avoid having two different contractors working in the same space, it's better to avoid that. Simply because you wind up with issues that come up if anything goes wrong. So staff recommends award the contract to Progression Electric.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay,
No,
none
sir.
from residents. Okay, discussion, Alderman Burnett,
No question.
Vice Mayor,
No questions.
Alderman Meyer,
Pass.
Alderman White.
No, sir.
This is great. That's a good way to do that. We don't need finger pointing from two different vendors when they're down the same hole. So discussion completed. I'll ask all in favor, vote by saying yes.
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 Okay, let the record show the contract has been approved as requested. Thank you, Darrell. Okay, next will be approval of State of Tennessee contract number 00719 to purchase fuel.
Good evening, Board. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider authorizing a contract the state of Tennessee has entered into with WEX, a worldwide leader in fleet management and fueling solutions, for the purchase of all town of Farragut gasoline and diesel fuel for our on-the-road vehicles. The program will help with overall fueling expenses and provide us with tools to improve our operational efficiency. Public Works is always looking for ways to enhance the town's financial position, and with the WEX program, we will be able to save 18.3% on gasoline and 24.3% on diesel fuel. Our current budget line item for fuel for all departments is $111,800. The savings for the town would be approximately $17,000 per year. The town has looked into many ways to save money on fuel purchases. This is the best program that we have identified for purchasing fuel, including renting tanks and buying in bulk. The program provides online purchase activities, reports, enabling the town to track activity, flag any misuse, and keep expenses in check financially. And the site's summaries report help manage vehicle-related expenses and can be used as a planning tool for budgeting purposes. Approving this contract provides real-time access to a variety of reporting needs, invoice payment, and allows personal and vehicle changes to be updated in-house. The town's current fueling system provides this information, but at a much higher price. And it's been approved through the Public Works Department. Our staff recommendation is for approval to approve the state contract 00719 with WEX for the purchase of fuel for the town of Farragut vehicles.
To approve.
Second.
Okay, any resident comments?
sir.
None, okay, discussion. Where all are these cards accepted? Where will you focus on purchasing fuel?
In your packet, if you'll turn on to the back side of
Yeah, I know, but-
thing, the highlighted ones are fuel things in this area. So it would be Casey's, Kroger's, Marathon, Shell, Speedway. These are stations that are in or near the town of Farragut.
Okay.
But our purchases would be inside the town
Okay,
unless there's some kind of emergency.
okay. That's my question, and that was primarily for the residents that's
At home.
watching on TV.
Is that Shell station in Farragut?
Yeah,
That's got a lot, that's cheap.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah, Pilot, Flying J, both of those aren't in the town, but that's, where we buy our on-the-road diesel fuel.
that's where you get it at?
Yes, is that, yeah, typically it's Lovell Road, Pilot. We bought diesel fuel in town before from a station and ended up with water issues. And
Because
so-
it's not turned over enough to keep the water out of the, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
for whatever reason. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
got it. Okay, Alderman White,
No questions.
Alderman Burnett,
No questions.
Alderman Meyer.
Pass.
Wow, that's surprising. Vice Mayor?
I got nothing.
Okay. When it comes to saving money, I figured you'd have a comment.
Oh, 17 grand, 17 grand. Save it.
Okay. Okay, with discussion completed, I'll ask all in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Okay. Let the record show that fuel purchase contract, State of Tennessee contract number 00719 has been approved as requested. Thank you. Bud?
Thank you very much. And can I go before Daryl next time?
I think that's an Allison request.
She just wanted you to stick around longer.
Okay, next will be approval of request for reappointment to the Visual Resources Review Board.
Yes, sir. Currently have 2 members who have missed the 3 meetings and are seeking reappointment to the VRB. It is Brittany Moore and Derek Wright, and the motion is to reappoint those 2 to the Visual Resources Review Board.
Second.
Resident comments on that? None. Discussion, Alderman Mayor?
Pass.
Alderman White?
Well, I've noticed our attorney hadn't been here for the last 3 meetings. I can forgive him. I guess I can forgive these people.
Okay.
My answer is yes.
Okay. Alderman Burnett?
No questions.
Vice Mayor?
I'll say just this, that it takes a very special person to be able to sit on the VRRB board. So I'm thrilled that there's people that want to serve and continue to serve and request to serve some more. So I got no problem with this.
Well, I agree, because I sit on that board, and it is a dry board. But they're very important, so.
Yes.
With discussion complete, I'll ask all in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Let the record show that both requests have been approved. Town Administrator's report.
I have nothing to report tonight, Mayor.
Okay, and Tom's not here. Do we have any citizen comments?
No, sir.
Okay. And if that's the case, the time is approximately 7:29 PM. And without objection, June 8th, 2023 Farragut Board and Mayor and Alderman meeting is now adjourned.